Welcome to What's Cooking with the Cookware and Bakeware Alliance. The CBA supplies the industry with standards, connections, and solutions. This podcast features stories from our members and partners. Our goal is to share resources and information across the industry for consumers, retailers, manufacturers, and more. To learn more about becoming a member of the CBA, visit cookwareandbakeware.org.
Welcome to What's Cooking with the CBA. Our podcast series is a special feature dedicated to the theme of Stronger Together. This special series celebrates our members, contributions to the industry, the community, and always dedicated to creating safe consumer products. Our members are the industry leaders, and I'm so happy to be joined today by Ryan Reigle, CEO and Chairman of Regalware. Welcome, Ryan.
Thanks, Fran. It's great to be here. Really appreciate the opportunity to be with everybody for a little while.
I'm excited to do this podcast because Regalware is one of our longest members. And I think I'd like to just jump right in because you're celebrating a special anniversary this year and talk a little bit about Regalware's history.
Well, thanks again for the opportunity. And it is a special year for us. We're celebrating 80 years this year. And we go all the way back to 1945, where my great-grandfather started Regalware. But it actually, what was Regalware was started back in 1919 as the Kewaskum Aluminum Company. That's a big name to try and say, especially when you're calling people in New York or California. But so the Kewaskum Aluminum Company was formed around making aluminum, basically saucepans, and then transitioned during the war years, the early 1940s, into producing munitions for the U.S. government. And so their primary product, actually, when J.O. Regal bought the company, was a 95 millimeter shell casing. And so he acquired the company. And what he did is he believed in creating opportunity for people. And that was really at the heart and the core of who he was and really who we still are today in a large way. And what came from that was actually the family was not well off, and he was living in Ohio. The family was from Ohio, the Canton area. And he couldn't afford to go to college. And so he found what was a direct selling company, which if you think back in the 1920s, products were distributed really by people going door to door and distributors. And so he became a door-to-door salesman, and his late teen years ultimately paid for college. And believe it or not, his first product he ever sold was Bibles in the 1920s. And he went door-to-door selling Bibles in the Ohio area, and that's how he paid for himself to ultimately go to Mount Union College, if anybody's familiar. But it was from that experience that totally transformed him, because without somebody giving him the opportunity, granted, he had to do something to take advantage of it, but without somebody giving the opportunity, his life, his family's life, the trajectory might not have ever changed. And that really stuck with him from the beginning. And so when this opportunity ultimately to buy what became Regalware came to fruition in 1945, he saw this as his way of giving opportunity to others. Yes, it was opportunity on the manufacturing side of things and having those living wage jobs, which we still do, but it's also on the opportunity for people to go sell products and make a living ultimately to improve themselves, their families, their communities. And I think he actually did have a bigger vision around impacting the world in a positive way. And so that started in 1945, excuse me. And believe it or not, 2 weeks after he bought the company is when the first atomic bomb was dropped. And while that's an extremely tragic event, the impact on the business ultimately was the U.S. government canceled all contracts at that point, because they knew the war would be coming to an end, and ultimately they want to slow down the supply chain. And so 2 weeks after buying a company, financing it, moving his family from Ohio to Wisconsin, he lost his sole source of revenue. And how he overcame that is he went back to his roots and what he knew. They quickly retooled the factory back to the saucepans, and he did 1 quart and 1.5 quarts, put them in the back of his trunk, literally, and went out and went door to door in Wisconsin selling 1 and 1.5 quarts. And he'd empty the trunk out and go back to the factory and get more, go out and sell them, so on and so forth, to keep the business afloat. And he never missed payroll. Wow. and continued to grow from that. And really, you look at those post-war years in the U.S. and the changing consumerism in general that's happening in the late 40s and the 50s and 60s and suburban America growing up and kind of moving out of the cities a little bit. And just what the consumer was looking for ultimately is we just found ourselves, I think, in the right place at the right time with a lot of the right people as well. But that was about creating products that people wanted. And we quickly evolved from just that base cookware to really the retail division and looking at acquisitions to help fuel growth around different construction types and aluminum and coated aluminum. And we were one of the first companies to use the DuPont non-sticks and bringing those things to life, and then evolving in the 70s that we all probably remember the electric side of things with Harvest Gold and Avocado Green, which suddenly things are coming back again as well. But really throughout the 60s, 70s, and in large part of the 80s, early 90s, we grew through acquisition. And we had plants and partnerships as far south as Bogota, Colombia, as far away as Birmingham in the UK, partnerships with Moulinex in France, as well as in Virginia Beach. And so we really saw ourselves growing with that retail environment. But as things started to get a little bit more challenging, and a lot of that business started going offshore, being produced, whether it be Mexico or Korea or China, ultimately, is that we decided that our strategy was ultimately to remain U.S.-based, U.S. manufactured. And so we did divest of our retail division back in the late 90s, early 2000s, just as we saw the ability to compete on price for the consumer, what price the community was demanding was going to be really difficult. And so that allowed us to kind of pivot back. And I think for the next 15, almost 20 years, to be honest, is we really focused on our OEM business, if you will. White label, whatever terminology makes sense for people, is producing product for others and not necessarily focusing on our own brands as much. And really, Jeff, my father, third generation leadership of the company, he and his team put together this idea of holding company strategy, and ultimately about trying to evolve to incorporate manufacturing, but also growing our brands as well, and taking advantage of something that we can be more control about our future. And that happened back in 2000, I think it was 13. It's about when he kind of laid that strategy out. And we're still really implementing and evolving with that. And that's where we got to today, where our contract manufacturing division is called Synergy Ops. And we rebranded away from Regalware because we really wanted to build this contract manufacturing division to be something different than what we had ever done in our history before, and really get people to understand it is about making great product right here in the United States and having a world-class cost structures, which we continue to drive to ultimately to compete in a globalized market. And so that standalone division, while supplies some product to our sister brands, if you will, really is about going out and building great relationships with other great brands out there as well. And that's also left our second largest division, which is Saladmaster today, which Saladmaster is headquartered in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It was actually founded in 1946. And we've left the sales and marketing operation down there. But today they've got a global reach with offices in the UK, Korea, Japan. We just opened up offices there. And then we have people on the ground in Australia, Philippines. And then we have stocking distributors in really 20 or 30 additional countries. And Saladmaster is a really unique cookware brand, but it's really about a cooking system. And it's about helping to train and teach people to eat or prepare healthier meals at home using less oils, fats, butters, kind of all that bad stuff. And really maximizing the nutrition that's already in your foods as well. So we get it. That's really where I cut my teeth. They made me go to door to door for a little while, but I cut my teeth going into people's homes and doing demonstrations. And on any given day, we're in up to 4,000 to 5,000 homes around the world today, cooking for people. And so it's a really, really neat place for us to be. And as we jump to the future, I'm terribly excited. I mean, obviously, there's a lot going on in the world of our industry today. Tariffs might be one of those things people talk about a little bit, but we also have the regulatory environment here in the U.S. and PFAS and all of that kind of stuff. But I'm really excited when we look at our Synergy Ops division, and the future really looks about expanded constructions, because we want to be first in mind, first in choice for U.S. made product. And what that means is, we got to do what we do today really well, but we also have to add in those other things that consumers are ultimately looking for, other brands are looking for. So we are actively engaging in partnership conversations, JV conversations, equipment conversations about rather quickly scaling what our operation is today. And we see that really, if we only triple in the next 36 months, I'd be disappointed, to be quite honest, in that division. And at the same time, our Saladmaster division, we're seeing great growth opportunities in the Asia Pacific, really rim. Korea has been a great market for us. We are, well, demographically, Japan has some challenges. We're expanding in Japan. We've got a good foothold in, believe it or not, the Philippines and Australia. And we see Indonesia and some of those other, Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, those kind of countries as being ripe for entrepreneurial business opportunities. So we're real excited about what we see there. And at the same time, we're also looking at acquisitions underneath the Regalware umbrella to bring complementary services, products, ultimately to those divisions as well as we go forward. So we're not bored around here.
No, you're not. I consider myself lucky. I knew your dad. I also got to work with Doug. My time here at the CBA was our board. And it's amazing to hear how much you've grown in 80 years, this look of the future, but you haven't left what your grandfather, the opportunity, and it's opportunity for all the people who work for you. And I also got the pleasure of being at a partner summit recently. And I think the average employee of your people is like a decade or more. So you know that you live that message. It's incredible to see a company that 80 still kind of holding where their roots are.
Core values, I think, gets overused in the world today to some extent, and it just becomes a talking point. But I think it's Kewaskum, Wisconsin, which is where our headquarters was. I mean, we had three traffic lights in town, and by the way, the third one just got added like 12 or 15 years ago. So that's a new development for us. And I say that tongue in cheek a little bit from the standpoint that, I mean, it is small town Midwestern values that we really founded the organization on, and you can't stray from that. I mean, being authentic with people, regardless of where you're in the world, being authentic, people see through it if you're not. And those values, we don't always do our best, but we always try to do our best around them and live up to the things that really J.O. started the company around. And I think we've probably made some decisions, to be quite honest, over those 80 years that are not in the best financial interest of the organization, but they are the absolute right decision when it comes to people. And that, as a privately held organization, we get that opportunity to make different types of decisions because the constituents that we have to serve are different, perhaps, than some others.
You touched on a really good point, and it made me think of a marketing professor I had. He said, the best marketing is true. If you guys are living your core values, everything else just falls into place because it's always true. It's who you really are as a company. And I got to tell you, I also had at that partner summit, got to see the Salad Master demo. And I've been in cookware for 30 years. I've never been so quickly sold on a product. Where did Salad Master start?
Well, we saw you run out, Fran, before we could get your price on, but don't worry, we'll put the invoice in the mail. First off, I was so glad to have you there as a feature speaker for us. And really for us, this was the first time we ever did it. It wasn't necessarily around our anniversary, but if any one of our businesses, we really think about the network of others that we need around us to be successful. It's a huge group of people. And we just felt it was really a neat opportunity to bring folks together from local, international, just all the different partners truly that help us be successful and let them know where we go. Because just like you said, it's about authentic and relationships. And the more we know about each other and the less we are just, on one of these things in a text message or an email, having that true relationship, it really is everything. So thank you actually for being a guest speaker. You definitely put me to shame. So that was good. Your question though, about Salad Master in particular, Salad Master was actually formed in 1946 by a gentleman by the name of Harry Lemons in Dallas, Texas. And Harry was kind of your classic entrepreneur. And he actually had several different businesses. He was in, believe it or not, fire alarms. At the same time, he was doing cookware. At the same time, I believe there was a China glass in place. And I actually think there was a lingerie business that was all kind of a part of his empire, if you will, at one time. We were only in the cookware side. But he started this business around direct sales and what was called the Salad Master machine. So it's machine. We actually use a version of it today, and it's about helping people prep fruits, vegetables, meats a little bit faster at home than using a mandolin or some type of other products like that. And it quickly evolved though into cookware ultimately, because the food prep machine is great, but everybody only needs one. And so if you're really thinking about scaling a business, if you only have one product you can sell, that doesn't help you grow that fast. And so by adding cookware, you need fry pans, you need sauce pans, you need stock pots, you need Dutch oven. It really opens up the opportunity to expand that relationship with the end consumer. And in Salad Master, it's really a two-step distribution model. And so we're wholesaling. We wholesale to a dealer that we call them. That dealer is in their local community and they stock product there. And then they have a network of independent contractors that go out and then do those in-home demonstrations, just like what you saw Io Alcende, who's the president, do a version of that at the Partner Summit. And so it's just a really neat business about connecting with people who are really kind of hyper conscious about what they put in their bodies and how they prep foods. And it's not for everybody. There's no doubt about it. It's not for everybody, but really gives us the opportunity within our portfolio to have products that are really premium and higher price point, high feature and benefit rich. And then we have other products that can meet different price points and other features and benefits that other customers want as well.
It's really amazing product. You just said about surrounding yourself with the right people. And I think that's a perfect lead into Synergy Ops, because that is an amazing team. I mean, Regalware was also already a strong, amazing team. And you brought in Synergy Ops team. And I love the word synergy, because I feel like it amplifies what you're trying to do. You're trying to create synergies with these new business opportunities and these new companies. How did Synergy Ops get started, and when did it get started?
We kind of hit the head on how we got to the name ultimately. And it's the idea was how do we synergistically work into your operations, right? And so we're a contract manufacturer. Synergy Ops is not trying to grow a brand. They're trying to help others grow their brand. And so that's why we really felt that was a great name to represent what we were trying to create. And that really came as a brainchild out of Jeff's direction about setting up this Regalware as a holding company. And in order to do that, we really kind of split away the manufacturing bit of our business away from the Regal brand name. And then also looking at how do we make sure that we get the right cost structures in place so that we can be globally competitive. And that's a journey. We are not all the way there yet. We've brought in some outside folks to do some benchmarking to make sure that we understand, ultimately what's the end goal look like and the steps along that journey. And we're continuing down that. We'll see that taking another 2 or 3 years probably to be exactly where we want to be, but we've made some great progress. The other thing we've done in our structure, at least, is I don't believe a whole lot in micromanagement, and please don't ask any of my people that, but I don't believe in micromanagement. and we want to set up a structure where Regalware as a holding company is a very small group of individuals, to be quite honest. It's around specialized services such as like IT, finance, balance sheet management, cash flow, those kind of things that you need to do for everybody, but you don't necessarily, for all divisions, excuse me, but you don't necessarily need all of that resource in each one of those divisions. So you can kind of aggregate out and distribute that out. HR, when you look at regulatory practices, benefits, all those kind of things, you spread that out for the top. Legal all have to have that legal from that standpoint, and then you get overhead like me. And so that's at the Regalware level. But what we really tried to develop and built it around the EOS model, if anybody's familiar with that, the Entrepreneur Operating System, is our divisions are as much as possible standalone. And so Dave Decker, who's the president there at Synergy Ops, he has everything he needs to run his business on any given day. And he doesn't necessarily need the involvement of, if you will, corporate or holding company like Regal ultimately. And so if you look at his leadership team, he's at manufacturing, head of sales, finance. He's got his own HR, because obviously we've got manufacturing, so we've got people that are working on the manufacturing floor, as well as supply chain. So he's got everything he needs ultimately to run that business. And that's our goal, is to empower people using our Regal way. We call that's our version of EOS. Empower people to ultimately go run their business, because a contract manufacturing business for us underneath this portfolio is very different than a direct selling business, which is salad master. And if we try and put those two things together, we're really not going to do either one justice. And so the same thing for Io on Sunday at the salad master level. He's got that same type of leadership team as well, so he can really run his own business for the most part on a day-to-day basis without a ton of involvement.
I feel like a bunch of different books are flashing through my head on successful businesses in the US, and that's how they did it. They surrounded themselves with the right people. And I won't ask your team if you micromanage, and let them do their jobs. But and that's a reward in itself for people and motivation. It's incredible to think 80 years. It's incredible to see what you've done, what you're doing, and where you're going. You've done amazing contributions to the industry, Regalware overall, and it's been great that you've been a part of the CBA all these years. And I can't wait to see what you guys do next. Any parting thoughts to our audience out there?
No, thanks off again for the opportunity, first and foremost. But I know CBA doesn't need a plug, but I think the plug what has become the CBA, and I can't underestimate what Fran, you ultimately done help transform this organization. I think to really step us into where we needed to be, not just cookware manufacturers in the United States, but ultimately we look at this ecosystem of brands and suppliers. I think I feel really good about where this organization is going. I'm really proud that we've been able to be a part of it since day one, really, and looking at all the great leaders that have come before. So glad to be part of it. I think the plug I'd give as much as anything is there's no doubt we are living in turbulent times. And regardless of what happens this week, this month, this year, we'll live in turbulent times next year and in 10 years and 20 years. But having a strong group like what CBA is, an industry representative, and really working together, which I think is kind of unique in a lot of ways, is that the members at CBA ultimately are pretty open with each other, all things considered, about trying to help each other navigate these turbulent times and take advantage of opportunities as well. I think it's a really unique place to be, and I'm excited that we have such a diverse group now coming together that's going to face these challenges, because this regulatory environment in the U.S. scares the heck out of me, and we all collectively, I mean, at the end of the day, we're not that big of a company. And so to be able to come together with everybody else to be able to face these challenges together, ultimately, I think is how we're all going to do. So we are truly excited about the opportunity that we have as Regalware, but also that we're going to continue to be part of CBA because of what that represents. And we're also excited to get more engaged with IHA and other groups as well, because truly we're all stronger together.
I couldn't agree with you more, Ryan. And your attitude and outlook is exactly why Regalware will continue to grow and thrive. I so appreciate you coming on today. I appreciate what you said about the CBA. I do love my job here. To all those listening, in the link with the podcast, you will be able to check out the member directory page for Regalware. If you have any other questions, you can reach out to the team on that page. And until then, happy cooking, everyone.
You've been listening to What's Cooking with the Cookware and Bakeware Alliance. For more resources about the cookware and bakeware industry and information about becoming a member, visit our website, cookwareandbakeware.org.